You're a teenage boy. Your name literally means born on a Tuesday. Your world is a cocktail of street gangs, political thugs, drugs, and, oh yeah, religious zealots recruiting for the apocalypse. And just when you think things can't get crazier, someone tells you, by the way, you need to purify your soul. Spoiler alert, purification comes with its own body count. Welcome to the wildest coming-of-age story you'll read this year. Sounds like fiction? Oh, it is. And you're gonna love and maybe hate every gritty, dusty, bloody page of it. So, let me introduce you to our boy, Dantala. Now, this name is going to stick with you. Dantala is a teenager living in Bayan, Layi, a place that makes you wonder if Google Maps would even dare list it. Picture a rough, lawless town where gangs are basically the neighborhood watch. Except their version of security involves machetes and their currency, drugs. Dantala is part of a gang, and not the Netflix glamorized type. These guys aren't riding in black SUVs or wearing matching jackets. They're barefoot boys hustling their way through life, surviving on hashish and blind loyalty to their gang leader, Banda. Banda is the benevolent overlord of this teenage kingdom. Think of him as the Robin Hood of weed, except he doesn't rob the rich. He just tries not to get stabbed by them. Life in Bayan Layi is rough, but Dantala? He's okay with it until politics crashes the party. Election season in Nigeria, and if you know, is not just about posters and promises. It's about politicians hiring thugs to burn down their opponents' dreams. And who better for the job than boys like Dantala? So our young protagonist finds himself in the thick of political thuggery, burning down campaign offices, running from soldiers, and wondering why his Tuesday-born destiny looks so bleak. Then something goes wrong. There's violence, there's chaos, and suddenly the gang scatters like chickens chased by a hungry fox. Banda, the great leader, disappears into thin air, probably to start a new gang in another unlucky town. And Dantala? He's left alone, broke and bruised, with nothing but the taste of burnt rubber in his mouth and the smell of betrayal in the air. So what does he do? He runs far away, leaving behind Bayan Layi, heading towards Sokoto, a place that promises a little less violence and maybe some food. But what he doesn't know is that this trip will flip his life upside down.
Shit.
On the road to Sokoto, Dantala almost dies. Hunger gnaws at him like an unpaid debt collector, but then, salvation. A good Samaritan picks him up and drops him at a mosque. Now this is where the real transformation begins. At the mosque, Dantala meets Malam Junaidu, a gentle soul who takes him under his wing, gives him food, clothes, and plot twist, a new name, Ahmad. Goodbye, Dantala the gang boy. Hello, Ahmad the devout student of Islam. At first, Ahmad is like, wow, this is peaceful. I've gone from chasing enemies with knives to memorizing the Quran. But this peace, it doesn't last long. Because lurking beneath the calm is a storm of sectarian violence. Islamic factions ready to tear each other apart over doctrine, money, and power. And Ahmad, he's about to get a front row seat.
Bro.
You know that saying, religion is peace? Well, not in this book. Here, religion is politics. It's bullets wrapped in holy verses. Ahmad's new guardian, Sheikh Jamal, is a respected cleric, but his sect is constantly at war with another faction. One minute they're preaching unity, the next they're plotting attacks. And our boy Ahmad? He's right there, absorbing it all like a sponge dipped in gasoline.
Are ya ready, kids?
Things escalate fast. Ahmad witnesses political manipulation at its finest. Politicians cozying up to clerics weaponizing faith, and the masses, oh, the masses, desperate, hungry, jobless. They cling to whoever promises heaven on earth, even if it means marching into hell. Ahmad finds himself torn between loyalty to his sheikh and the nagging feeling that all this bloodshed is not what God intended. And just when you think it's bad enough, the book throws in characters like Abdul Nur, a Yoruba convert turned zealot who dreams of enforcing the most extreme interpretation of Sharia law. Then there's the philanthropist-politician combo. Men who give out free bags of rice today and order killings tomorrow. Ahmad navigates this minefield of hypocrisy, violence, and fanaticism, and somehow manages to stay human. But make no mistake, this is not some fairy tale redemption arc. Ahmad sees death. Friends die. Innocence dies. At one point, you'll probably close the book, stare at the ceiling, and whisper, "Why, Elnathan, why?" And that, my friends, is the story, well, most of it, because the real punch comes in the writing, and oh, we'll get there. But first, let me introduce you to the masterpiece I've been talking about. Born on a Tuesday by Elnathan John. Yep, that little short story that was shortlisted for the Caine Prize in 2013. It grew up, hit the gym, and came back as this heavyweight novel. And let me tell you, it's a knockout. Now let's talk. When I first picked this book, I was skeptical, very skeptical. Why? Because for years I had beef with the Caine Prize. Yes, the prestigious African Short Story Prize. Why? Because it seemed obsessed with one trope, the poor African boy suffering, waiting for salvation, preferably from a Western savior. Add in some dead bodies, sprinkle some war crimes, and boom, shortlisted. I hated that stereotype so much that by 2013, I stopped reading those stories entirely. So imagine my shock when I found out Born on a Tuesday grew out of one of those shortlisted stories, Bayan, Layi. If I had known that earlier, I probably would have side-eyed this book into oblivion. But guess what? I read it. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because this book, oh, it's different. Elnathan John takes a theme that could have easily turned into a pity party, terrorism, poverty, political corruption, and instead writes it with restraint, maturity, and incredible storytelling control. He doesn't preach, he doesn't romanticize, he doesn't sensationalize, he simply shows. Through Ahmad's voice, raw, honest, sometimes naive, we see how a boy can slip from innocence to indoctrination. And the writing? It's clever. Ahmad is learning English, so the language is simple, sometimes broken, but it never feels clumsy. Instead, it feels authentic. You believe this boy. You feel his hunger, his confusion, his faith, his fear. And the best part? Elnathan doesn't paint villains in black and heroes in white. Everyone here is gray. Everyone is human, flawed, fragile, terrifyingly real. Reading this book reminded me of a line from Marcus Zusak's The Book Thief, where death says, "I am haunted by humans." Because truly, nothing is more horrifying than what humans can do when power, poverty, and piety collide. Now, Elnathan John. If you don't know him, you should. Nigerian writer, lawyer, satirist, and sharp as a blade. He's been shortlisted for the Caine Prize twice, back in 2013 and 2015, and Born on a Tuesday was his debut novel. It won the Betty Trask Award and was shortlisted for the Nigeria Prize for Literature. And trust me, after reading this, you'll want to read everything else he writes, even his grocery list.
Good one!
And final verdict? Born on a Tuesday is not an easy read, but it's an important one. It's raw. It's honest. It'll break your heart and teach you something about faith, politics, and what it means to be human in a broken system. So, if you're ready to step into Ahmad's world, a world where a boy born on a Tuesday grows up in the crossfire of guns and God pick up this book, you won't forget it. Now tell me in the comments, have you read this book? Did it shake you up like it did me? And if you haven't, what's stopping you? See you next week with another story that'll keep you thinking long after you've closed the book. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.